Hey Mr. Farmer, Guys here. Chapter 10 today, Introduction to 3D Printing, Learning Objectives, Understand the History and Development of 3D Printing. I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to let you read the book for yourself. I don't want to bore you. Be aware of the primary types of 3D printing technologies, be able to identify the commonly used filament types, and then understand the general procedure for 3D printing. That's where we're going to spend most of our time, is how to get it from a model to the 3D printed format. So we're going to use the rod guide from chapter 9, and I actually don't have the rod guide saved on this computer, so I'm just going to model it up really quickly. This is from chapter 9. Mr. Dieter may have already shown you how to do this. I'm not sure. Let's start with the center point rectangle, 1/4 inch fillets all the way around. Alright, we'll put holes at these center points. I think these are 1/4 inch as well. Finish and extrude 3/4 of an inch. And now we got to do something really weird. This is kind of a angled plane. So I'm going to go into planes, angle to plane around edge, and we're going to use the, let's see here, we're going to use the y-axis and the xy plane. That's what we'll do. Alright, let's see here. Yep, we're going to do the y-axis, angle the plane around edge, and then use this plane right here and make it 30 degrees. Is that what we want to do? Yeah, perfect. And now I'm going to sketch on this plane right here. So I'm sketching at an angle. I hope you can see that. And let me draw out the profile here. I always start with the top part. This will be a 1.5 inch diameter circle. Center point 3/4 inch above this. Perfect. And we got a smaller circle inside this. Looks good. And then I'm going to set this as a rectangle. Grab my trim tool. That looks good. And then we're going to put a little cutout right here. This is going to be 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. And be a 1/4 inch above the base. Uh-oh, didn't like that. Locked in place. And then I'm actually just going to mirror this on the other side. So I'm going to select these. I'm going to say, draw a little line right here. And mirror this across this mirror line, apply, and there, I've got it right there. That is not symmetrical at all. We need to fix this. So let this be a lesson. Even I make mistakes. See how this is still purple? I've got to fix that because it can move. So I need to lock that in to the origin here. I need to make that dimension 0. That's much better. Much better. Okay, let's try this again. We'll do a rectangle. We will trim this out. We'll do 3/4 inch circle here. This is looking better. And then we'll do a 1/4 by 1/4 cutout. 1/4 above. And this time, hopefully we can mirror correctly on this side. Hey, that's still not right. My goodness, what's going on here? struggling. Happens to the best of us. From here to here, 0.25. Let's just try this and see what we end up with. Finish sketch. I'm going to extrude this portion mid-plane for a thickness of, what do we have? 1 inch. And then I'm going to turn off the visibility on my work plane. Is that close enough to 3D print? I think it is. I think that's actually pretty good. We'll just roll with it, regardless. We've got an issue here. I should have made that tangent. Oh well. We're good. Actually, no, we're not. I'm going to fix it. That's going to bug me. Let's make this tangent. Let's take this and this. What have I done? Oh, I went to midpoint. Okay, don't worry about it. We're going to roll with it. I'll come back and fix this later on. But the point of this video is not to model the part. The point of this video is to 3D print this part. So what do we do now? Well, the first thing is we're going to go File, Save As. We're going to save our part. We'll call this the rod guide. Always give it a meaningful name. And then we are going to File, Export, let's see, CAD format, I believe. Yeah, okay. File, Export. I'm going to do that one more time. File, Export, CAD format, right? File, Export, CAD format. And then down here, we're going to change the file type. We're going to do an STL. STL, as in Sierra Tango Lima. And so you'll see that's a .stl. I'm going to save that on my desktop. And you'll see what that file is for momentarily. So let's get rid of that. There's that STL file. What I need to do now is find my 3D printing software. I'm going to use this thing called Flash Print. Flash Print is a slicing software, which means it's going to take your model and slice it into layers that become your printed part. So let's skip the update. This is kind of our 3D printing area. Now different slicers are going to look differently. This is just one example. We're going to load that STL file in there. We can't load the model itself, but we can load that STL file. So there it is, rod guide STL. Open up. Yes, and you'll see that it's itty bitty teeny tiny. So we need to rescale this. I'm just going to do 10 to 1. Let's make this 76.2. Yeah, there we go. And obviously you probably wouldn't want to print it laying on its side. So we can rotate this. Let's rotate it that way. And then you can see the surface is below the bottom, or the part is below the bottom of the surface. So I'm going to say on platform and centered. So there's my part. It's sitting in there. It's scaled correctly. It looks pretty good. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to identify if I need any supports. And I think that I do. So when do you need supports? You need supports when you've got kind of an overhang like this. And you may need them here. It just depends on how much of a gap you're trying to cover. Because when the 3D printer extrudes its filament, if there's nothing for the filament to sit on, it's just going to droop down. It comes out horribly. Let me see if I can find an example of what happens. Let's see. Yeah. Let's find an example here. Okay, perfect. So here's an example of when you 3D print. These are supports. The supports are the yellow part. And then here's what happens if you print without supports. It just kind of tends to droop down and it messes up your print. So you can see right here under the H there was no support, and then under the T there was no support. You don't need it on the Y, right? Because there's no parallel or perpendicular overhang. So let's go back over here, and I'm going to say I do need supports on this rod guide. I'm going to go to supports. You can do them manually or you can do auto supports. I like to use auto supports, and you can change how it works, but these are the supports. This will allow you to print your part, and then when you're done printing, these just break away. You can break them off with pliers or sand them off or whatever you need, right? So that looks good. I'm going to go back. I am going to print. And then there's a few settings you always want to use. I like to use a raft that just lays a bed under your print. You can print low resolution, standard, high, whatever you want. You can change your options. You can change the infill percentage, which is how much plastic is going to be on the inside. You can change your print temperature. You can play around with it and set it up however you want. When you hit OK, it's actually going to slice, S-L-I-C-E, the model. And here's what you end up with. It looks about the same, but you'll notice on the left-hand side, we've got layers. We've got 321 layers. So if I just kind of look through these layers, here's how the print is actually going to work. Do you see that honeycomb in there? That's the inside of your print. And so you can go all the way down to your raft, and there's the base raft. This is what we're going to build on. So it begins to print, and this is the print coming up, closing in. Right here you can see your supports starting. Supports going up all the way to the top. That's your print. Now, it would be really nice if we knew how much material this was going to take and how long it would take to print. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, thankfully, good slicers have that information right up here. You've got your estimated print time, 3 hours and 4 minutes, and your estimated material, 15.82 meters, right? Or you can do a weight estimation. 15.82 meters is about 47 grams, right? So that's your weight estimation. And then you can do slice information that gives you all of the parameters you need to slice. When you're done with this, you just export the code and send it to your printer, and you're good to go. That's all there is to 3D printing. Super duper easy. If you have questions, let me know. Be sure and read Chapter 10 before you attempt the quiz. And feel free to ask me any questions in class or shoot me an email. Thanks for watching.